my article?
Yeah, I liked it.
Oh, we live.
Yes, sir. We are. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the TD Report. Very interesting TD Report today. I'm your host, David Combs, here with Tony Kennedy. Look, man, everyone's brackets busted. Grab yourself a cold beverage. We're going to talk a little Final Four today and give a little shout out to, we're going to start with the ladies. Let's start with the ladies first. Hey, Tony.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to the Virginia Tech Hokies, man. Is this your first Final Four for the women? I think this is the women's first Final Four. And now you're going to like this. UVA's first time making it to a Final Four. We had to beat Pat Summitt, and we had to beat her in the state. We had to beat her in the state of Tennessee to get to a Final Four. Dawn Staley and them guys, they got it done. That was UVA's first Final Four. They had to beat.
Hey, Dave, before we get going, who did Virginia Tech beat?
I don't know.
Tennessee.
Who did Virginia Tech beat to get to the Final Four just now?
Tennessee.
The Ohio State.
Oh, wow, Jody. You see, normally my role on the show is to get on Jody about the Browns, about the Cleveland Browns. Tony, why you got to do that to our man? He just got off work.
Just listen. Hey, you got to give respect to Virginia Tech, man. The lady Hoagies, man, they doing their thing, man. They beat a good Ohio. That's a good Ohio State team. That was
it was
team.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, Ohio State, they had a very young team. They will be back.
They'll be back. They'll be back. You know, women's basketball has gotten a big bump this year. You know, the ratings are up, and that's great. You know, that's great for the sport. A guy from around our age group, Ralph Kitley, if the name sounds familiar. Ralph Kitley was a 6'10" center. Wasn't a great player. He played for Wake Forest back when Muggsy Bogues was there. Muggsy Bogues was the point guard. His daughter is the best player for Virginia Tech. That's how old me and Tony are. We remember when her dad played, right? Wow. And now their daughter is leading the Hokies into a Final Four, which is really, really cool. I think she's like a 6'4" forward, really good player. You know, bangs on the glass. You know, kind of old school. But you know, her dad used to set picks for Muggsy. Not that Muggsy really needed many picks because he had to, you know, he's 5'3". You had to kind of find him. But it was always funny, you know, probably seeing the two of them walking around campus together, looking like Rocky and Bullwinkle. You know what I mean? So.
But you want to know something, Dave? And I think that the men's tournament has been excellent, but the women's tournament really is giving the men's tournament a run for their money this year. I mean,
it's got some juice.
If you look at the last 10 years, the women's tournament has been just as good, if not better, than the men's tournament. They've been having some, you know, South Carolina been on the rise. You know, UConn has been on a decline. Tennessee, you know, they wasn't what they used to be. You got teams like Notre Dame that pop in there, Stanford pop in there every now and again, LSU, you know, Baylor, teams like that, Notre Dame, those teams pop in and have won national championships. And you can't really say that about the men's game.
LSU has been a pretty standard participant and very consistent, getting to Elite Eights, getting to a Final Four. They'd obviously had some coaching issues, but now they're back in the Final Four. They're there with Kim Mulkey, late of Baylor. She was at Baylor, you know, back in the Brittany Griner era. You know, she won national championship there.
Right.
This will be the first women's Final Four since 2007 that will not include University of Connecticut women. People had talked about, is Connecticut bad for the sport? They're too dominant. They're this, they're that. No, they weren't. The only way that South Carolina could put their big girl sneakers on is they had to beat UConn, which they were able to do. And the way I've always looked at it, dynasties in women's basketball, dynasties in men's basketball, you know, you've heard the nature boy Ric Flair. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Being able to get past UConn was huge for, you know, Dawn Staley. Her first national championship, she didn't beat UConn. UConn lost. Who did they lose to, Tony?
Notre Dame, right?
I think Notre Dame got them.
Yeah.
And then Dawn came in and, hey, you win the game. You beat the team that's there when you play them. So whether it's UConn, whether it's whoever, they won their first national championship. Dawn is back in the Final Four again. She's been great for the sport. A great player in her own right. Didn't win national championship at Virginia, but went to multiple Final Fours. Been to the Olympics multiple times and been a real ambassador for the game. Played pro ball, but now she's one of the premier coaches in all of college basketball, all of college sports.
Right.
And at a football crazy program like South Carolina, what she has brought to the table as a women's coach is truly really fun to see.
You know what, Dave? I look at the women's game right now and the totality of them. You say, do we like dynasties? I love dynasties across all the sports because I go back and remember when Michael Jordan retired the second time from the Chicago Bulls, where he was kind of forced. That team had to be, broken up, go to watch The Last Dance. And he said he wanted to be dethroned. Michael Jordan wanted to be. He said, I wanted somebody to beat me. No, technically, nobody ever beat the Bulls. Technically. You know what I mean? Like they just kind of faded off. That nobody
not in the finals. Not in the finals.
No, I'm talking about his last year. He went 3 straight before he left. Remember it? So nobody technically beat them.
Well, let's not forget. He did come back mid-season. Remember that?
Yeah.
He came back mid-season. They got to the playoffs, and the Magic did eliminate them.
No, what I'm saying is towards the end of his career, we knew that Michael Jordan.
I agree. Yeah.
We understood that Michael Jordan and the Bulls was the standard. And he was going back to when he because Michael Jordan made, reference to back when he had to beat Detroit. And guess what? Detroit had to beat Boston. And the LA Boston saga. They proved who was the best team. And with Chicago, you really never knew who was better than them. Because remember, the San Antonio Spurs won a year after Michael Jordan retired, and then here comes the Lakers. And
that was a strike year. Yeah, that was a strike year, wasn't it?
Yeah, but San Antonio, we still won it.
Okay.
But I go back to like women's college basketball. I love to see UConn. You had to beat UConn. You had to beat Tennessee. Remember, Tennessee was the king of the hill for a long time.
Tennessee and UConn, they had some memorable battles in Final Fours and national championship games.
I'm sorry, Queen of the Hill. So I love the dynasty aspect. I love going back in men's basketball when UCLA could nobody beat UCLA the time they had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and they had Bill Walton. They couldn't lose. So, when Duke, even though I hate Duke, I'm not a big Duke fan, but when Duke was dominating, going to 4 or 5 straight Final Fours, I love it because I'm a competitor and I don't want to go beat. I want to beat you. Like you said, when UConn got beat by Notre Dame, I'm pretty sure South Carolina wanted to do it. They wanted to do it because you wanted, like Ric Flair, you beat a man, you got to beat the man. And I love that. I love that phrase in life.
That's right.
That phrase in life.
As we talk about this on the TD Report with Jody Coleman, and thanks for joining us, Jody. We appreciate having you here. We know you're working hard, man. So thanks for getting on. Look, we've got UConn, who is a blue blood in women's basketball. Okay, they are the North Carolina, the Duke. They are one of the very seminal programs in the sport. Now you've got a team like South Carolina, who is now on the rise. Well, they're not on the rise. Dawn Staley's on top.
Right.
Now she's going to do everything she can to stay there. She coaches, she's recruiting. She's, as I mentioned, an ambassador of the sport. So I think the women's game is in good hands. But now we look at the men's game. Right now, the Final Four, the name brand in the Final Four is UConn on the men's side. And we have talked about on the show, well, not just on the show, but in production, what constitutes a true blue blood program in the men's game. If you look at what UConn has done since 1999, no program has won more national championships than UConn. UConn has 3 national championships. Duke, North, they have 4. No, they have 3. If they win this one, that would be 4.
That would be 5.
99.
They 99, 04, 11, 14.
Oh, yeah, they did win with Kevin.
They did win that. So if they win this one, they would have 5 national championships, but just as important, with 3 different coaches. They're working on trying to get their 3rd coach to win that national championship.
23 years with 3 different coaches.
You're a blue blood. That's a blue blood program.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Dave. So when we were talking about bloods.
Yes.
So when we talk about bloods if you can't be traced back to Naismith, then you're not a blood. Now, what you are a new blood. Now, there's
I'll
nothing
do
wrong
that.
with being a new blood because UConn, remember, all new bloods had rivalries with blue bloods. Okay, who was UConn's rivalry? Their rival was Syracuse,
Georgetown.
and Georgetown. Okay,
St. John's.
And
I mean, St. John's was still decent.
St.
It was still
John's,
decent.
and then you remember UConn kind of had a little tiny. It started going with Duke and Carolina in the tournament. They would even face one of those two,
Yep.
and they kind of where UConn came on the scene was when they beat Duke's best team in '99, and that kind of set them on that trajectory where we are now. But the blue bloods, so we understand each other. There's 6 blue bloods, okay? There's 6, and it can't change. Now they can go up or down. The first blue blood is Kansas because they started basketball. The second blue blood sits in the SEC. It's Kentucky with Mr. Rupp, okay? The third blue blood is Carolina. Carolina's been a blood all the way back.
1950s.
You got Duke, you got UCLA, and you got one of the biggest blue bloods that gets overlooked because it's the biggest basketball state in America is Indiana.
Mhm.
That is the biggest pound for pound basketball state in America is the Hoosier State with Indiana. With all the stuff that Bobby Knight did. First of all, they got the #1 basketball movie that's ever made. And the #1 story that you can't ever beat that story with Hoosiers. Okay. Now
one state championship, no divisions.
one state, and then they changed it. Which
They've
they
changed it
for all the new stuff. But that used to be the best. Those are the best stories. And those 6 blue bloods with UCLA all the way to Indiana. Now, the new bloods, with Villanova and Connecticut and them.
UConn.
Oh, but the new bloods, dog,
Hold
are
on.
taking.
You have
Hold
to
on.
call.
Hold on,
What you got?
Tony. I can't agree with you on this one, man. And you keep saying blue bloods this and blue bloods that. Guess what? Who the richest person in the world right now, Dave?
Jeff Bezos.
Bezos, Musk. Guess what?
Musk.
I don't give a doggone. His money gonna spend just like the Rockefeller money gonna spend. So I'm all about winning. And you can't say this team ain't a blue blood if it's been around since that time. Just because they haven't had success the whole time doesn't mean they're not a blue blood. We got. If you go back, hold on. You can go back and look at Ohio State. Look how many championships Ohio State won in basketball. Go back and look at Ohio State. But you wouldn't consider Ohio State being a blue blood. You looking at teams like UConn. UConn has more championships in the modern era than Kansas. And Kansas they barely won these couple championships they had. So what I'm saying is you saying blue bloods, that's not fair if you only gonna put it down to 6 teams and you got teams that ain't won nothing in a long time.
Well, hey Jody, your argument, you're arguing the wrong thing. What you're arguing is right. But to be a blood, they have to take you, and you know what? Kind of like the Godfather stuff. You know how you couldn't be part of the mafia if they couldn't trace your blood all the way back to Italy or Sicily? Well, you can't be a blue blood if you can't get traced back to James Naismith. But that doesn't mean you aren't the best program now or you aren't a great program. You're just not a blood. Everybody can't be a blue blood, dog. You just can't pass that around.
But aren't you supposed to win?
1940 and 1950, Ohio State didn't have no championships. Carolina, Kansas, Duke, UCLA, and all them.
Duke didn't either. Hold on, let's go back and look at Duke. Duke was not that good until they got Coach K in the late 70s. Go back and look at Duke.
Wait a minute. Duke was in the final.
Power though. They became a power when they got Coach K.
It became a name brand, but right. Duke was in the 1966 Final Four.
Yeah,
that was here at College Park. They were here.
What I'm saying is they didn't become a household name until Coach K took over and got them into the mid 80s, and then they started winning they started recruiting and getting guys that North Carolina was getting. Because remember back in the day, they wasn't getting guys North Carolina was getting.
No, they weren't.
When you look at a Duke, what Duke basically did to get to where they were, and I watched the HBO documentary. What Duke did was Duke went to places like New York and New Jersey. That's where their first really good basketball players came from. So they went off of Tobacco Road to do it.
Right.
They had to get them to come down there. North Carolina was different. Everybody from New York City wanted to play at North Carolina.
Right.
That's why they kept getting all those point guards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were getting kids and recruiting by inertia with Dean Smith. But that started with Dean even before Dean, when Dean was an assistant. And what was that? Frank McGuire was the coach way back in the day. So we're talking back in the early 50s, mid 50s to the late 60s was when Dean was kind of learning how to be a coach from McGuire. McGuire retires, Dean takes over as a young assistant. But then the difference between McGuire and Dean Smith was McGuire coached in an era where North Carolina would not come to Washington, D.C., would not come to New York City to recruit black players, because nobody on Tobacco Road would do that. The league had not evolved socially. Right. Dean Smith decided, once it got to the point, and this came back to his life, with his father was a coach back in, I think it was Topeka, Kansas. His father was a high school coach, and he had black players. Dean Smith saw that because Kansas was just different than you come out here to the South or even on the East Coast. Now, my point is this. If you took a guy like Lou Alcindor, when he came out of high school, if you don't have NIL deals, if you don't have transfer rules, there's no way he gets off the East Coast and ends up at UCLA. No frickin' way. He would have been at North Carolina, okay? He would have been at a Georgetown. He would not have gotten to where he was. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just historically how things kind of work. I'll say this. Social issues or racial issues. Elgin Baylor, if he came around today out of Northeast DC, there's no way he ends up playing at, the University of Idaho? There's no way there were no scholarships for you at North Carolina when those guys came out. This world that our kids today live in, where a kid my son's age could want to be recruited, he could say, Dad, I want to play at Arizona State. I want to play at UCLA. I want to play at Duke. I want to play down in Florida somewhere. These kids can go anywhere. The one thing that's beautiful about the NCAA tournament, when we see the kid from Kansas State, little point guard, 5'8" from New York City, how in the heck is that kid not at St. John's? Why is St. John? Are you telling me that St. John's University, as bad as they were, saw that kid on a playground and said, he can't play for us? Man, get out of here. This kid broke a record, 19 assists in an NCAA tournament game with all the chips in the middle of the table, and you drop 19 dimes on somebody. When you see non-traditional powers do what Kansas State was able to do this year, do what Florida Atlantic, and shout out to the Owls making a Final Four. Shout out to the San Diego State. Shout out to the San Diego State Aztecs. By the way, one of the coolest names in all of college sports, the Aztecs, will be in a Final Four. That side of the bracket, Florida Atlantic and San Diego State, one of those two going to be playing for all the chips. All the cheddar. It's all going to be pushed it's all going to be pushed in the middle of the table. You have 40 minutes. They need to do a documentary on just those two schools. You get 40 minutes to play basketball. And whoever comes out and wins on next Monday, you will be playing for a national championship and immortality.
It serves us right to have a 9, 2 5s and a 4 in the Final Four.
Good.
And
I love it.
I mean, you got your Kentuckys and Kansas at home, and Ohio State never even made it. You know what I'm saying? You can get everybody that you want. But the one thing between basketball and football that's different is one player can change your whole fortune of your whole program. I don't think you can have the same thing about football. So when you got these kids that's hungry as heck, man, Florida Atlantic, I told you, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I told you I seen Florida Atlantic, and they got a whole bunch of dogs on that team. They were 32-3 going into the tournament. So now they're 30, they won 4 games, but they 36-3.
36-3, and beat Kansas State in a thriller. I mean, it's amazing what Florida Atlantic is able to do. But you know what I like about them, Jody, is they see the team across from them. They don't care. We don't care. You got 7-footers? Okay.
Well, they got one too, though. They got a kid from Russia on their team.
What's
But
up?
the guy I've been raving about all tournament, and I've been saying, I'm gonna say his name again, Jonell Davis, man. He's so fearless out there, man. I don't think he cares about how many stars he was when he came in, or he wants to win a game, and he'd do whatever it takes to win it. And he's one of the guys that we don't talk enough about. When I turn on Sports Center or whatever, I never really hear this kid's name being mentioned. And I just think that he's a stud, man. And if he's not an NBA pick by now, man, I think if he doesn't get drafted in the NBA, I'm really gonna scratch my head at some of those guys that are scouts for the NBA teams.
Think about this, Jody. This is going to be the first Final Four since what year, Tony, without a McDonald's All-American on it?
This is the first one ever since McDonald's.
First one ever? Okay.
started doing it.
And we're talking about the whole Final Four. All 4 teams are playing without a McDonald's All-American. Now, we just had the McDonald's game. Was that the McDonald's game last night?
Yeah,
We just had the McDonald's game last night with Bronny James. Paige Stoikovic's son was out there hooping.
DeJuan Wagner.
DeJuan Wagner,
Wagner,
the grandson of Milt Wagner. And, that's amazing. But no McDonald's All-Americans.
So let me tell you, all my partners, Dave and Jody and everybody else was disagreeing with me, and that's fine because that's what we do here.
That's what we do.
We disagree, and that's fine. That's what we're supposed to do. Please go to our website so y'all can talk bad about Tony and how wrong I am. Just click on. I told these guys that a whole year ago, I said that the NIL was good for all sports, but it was going to change college basketball simply because college basketball players had options. College football players don't have options. In order to go to the pros in college football, 99.999% of the time you got to go to college for 3 years. And until that third class graduates, you're ineligible for the draft. Okay. But for college basketball, you can go to Australia, you can go G League, you can go whatever. And the NIL has come in, and now it has taken college basketball back to where it is supposed to be. Guys can stay in school, get developed by their coaches, and do everything. What the NIL has done is not only allowed them to make money, but now has allowed them to jump because of the transfer portal to jump for an NIL deal to go anywhere else. Miami's a prime example. The top 2 guys are at 1.2 million. The rest of the 10 guys are at 1 million. They got to split 1 million between 10 other guys. That's their budget, 2.2. Did they get a return? You damn right they got a good return because they're in the Final Four. FAU, the coach just came out today complaining that everybody's coming for his people for NIL, trying to take his team apart. San Diego State, them dudes, I'm going to give them credit. Their collective is giving them only $2,000 apiece. That's just their collective. And they doing work in their local communities. Okay. So why I say this is that because without NIL, we wouldn't have these 3 teams in here. These 3 teams might have made the tournament, but they would not be sitting here making these blue bloods. The blue bloods are home.
Well, let's put it this.
Telling you about a blue blood,
Well,
and Jody telling us, F them blue bloods. They at home. Them blue bloods ain't in Houston. They sitting at home. They home washing their cars. They home driving their damn Hemis, or what do you call them, Hellcats. They home doing all that stuff. They not playing. So it ain't no blue blood. The NIL has created what I'm going to start calling the Gen Z blood, because that's what it has created. And guys, if you don't like it, I have my favorite saying, adapt or die. Because I sat in Congress, I sat for 4 hours a day and listened to testimony from all around this country, and Democrat and Republican who can't stand each other. But they came together today, and guess what they said? Ain't nothing we can do. That horse is gone. Matter of fact, they said that horse is running the Kentucky Derby. The horse is running a triple A. He gone. Triple Crown. He out. What can they do? It's nothing they can do. As long as y'all don't mess up, this NIL stuff is here to stay. And basketball, our college basketball that we've been begging for, is back. Now, football is going to take a while because you got to cycle through and get the money going in these programs. Like Jody said earlier, you need more players. But in basketball, folks, get used to this because what I say, my bracket is in ICU. My bracket's in ICU because I had Gonzaga winning. And I just went and gave my bracket, and the doctor said, well, you know, hey, we got to bury this one. And they had to bury him, and I'm sorry. Rest in peace, bracket 2022.
Well, and let's talk about that. Looking on the other side of the bracket, you've got UConn, Danny Hurley's UConn Huskies, who look like the favorite in the tournament. They have not been challenged yet. They've basically blown out every team they played. What UConn did to Gonzaga was, and I don't like Gonzaga, but that was hard to watch. You know, once Drew Timme goes out of the game with fouls and has to sit early in the second half, that was basically the game. They were already down 17, you know, when he went out. And that lead just ballooned. It just got worse. And I don't know what else to say to Gonzaga fans. I totally get where you're coming from. That elusive national championship, you know, they went to the national championship game. What was that, 2 years ago? Got blown out. Was it 2 years ago? Got blown out by Baylor, just destroyed. It's tough, but you know what? That's college basketball, Jody. UConn is in the championship, is in the Final Four. They go up against the Miami team coached by Jim Larinaga, who is now in his second Final Four as a coach, having taken George Mason back in 2006. Miami was pretty good in regular season play in the ACC, but finds themselves now, again, 40 minutes away from playing for a national championship.
But you know what, Dave? We talk about, you know, the success of Miami and the success of UConn, and then we talk about the demise of how they got just slaughtered Gonzaga. Sometimes it's going to take a little longer because we had started deeming Gonzaga as almost, they're still a mid-major team, but they had propelled themselves up to compete with those guys, which they did great in recruiting. Few has done an amazing job up there by getting he got McDonald All-Americans to come to Gonzaga. That was unheard of. And that's the problem now. Now they're no longer the hunter, they're the hunted. And I think that they play better as the underdog than the favorite. And we're seeing the past couple of years with them being the favorite, they really haven't done well as being the favorite. That's the problem. Sometimes you haven't learned to play with that type of success. Sometimes when you have success, you think that you made it and you still haven't won a national championship yet. But kudos to UConn, because like you said, this is a third head coach and potentially can win their fifth national championship. That's unheard. And we talking about with a whole different brand of basketball. When Calhoun was there, they played when Calhoun was at UConn, they were loaded from 1 to 7 or 8. They all was pros. Kevin Ollie come in, and Kevin Ollie played a different style. He had a couple underdog type players. He had Kemba Walker, where Kemba Walker, you know, he a stud, but outside of him, he carried them through. Remember, he carried them through the Big East tournament. And now
you're talking about Shabazz Napier.
Napier, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's right.
Napier, but
Jim Calhoun had Kemba Walker.
Yeah, but
Kevin Ollie had Shabazz Napier and Ryan Boatright.
That's right. So now we got Hurley, who we know about his pedigree with his brother Bobby and his dad
Bob Sr.
Yeah, Bob Sr. You know, he's produced so many great players out of New Jersey. And right now, UConn is that team that now they're the favorite. Now, I wonder how that's going to work going into this tournament, them being pretty much the highest seed team remaining. Can they perform when they're not the underdog right now? Because, you know, nobody thought that UConn would have been in this position, especially 2 years ago when they was going through what they were going through.
I can answer that for you, Jody. The way that UConn plays basketball, okay, when you are Bob Hurley Sr.'s son and your big brother Bobby goes to Duke and wins national championships, and you're also a high school player, it's kind of like what Reggie Miller had to go through, and Cheryl Miller was big sis. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
He's got that younger brother mentality where it's my brother got all the accolades, right? McDonald's All-American. When Danny got to be a McDonald's All-American or got to be, named as a good high school player, people said, you only got that because of your dad. You only got that because of your brother. When that hits you, it burns. And he will never coach. Danny Hurley is going to be the one guy that's never going to coach from a position of, I deserve this. This is what I should have gotten. He's going to come from a standpoint of nobody respects me. Nobody respects my team either. So if you would let Danny Hurley and his UConn team go somewhere like Cameron Indoor Stadium and let them play against the Duke team laden with All-Americans, it would be like putting a T-bone steak in front of a pit bull. I think that UConn will go right after it. And I think they're going to take it and take on the persona of their coach. That's my take on, Bobby Hurley. Look at him coaching out at Arizona State. The way that he coaches, he's all fire, all fire. And good for him. But you've got to look at it from a standpoint also of what Danny has to deal with as being Bobby Hurley's brother. That had to be very tough. I mean, and we're starting to see certain things like that as some of these young young high school players kind of bubble up, like we see with like a Bronny James. Bronny James, all his life has heard, you only got that because your dad is LeBron. What are you? You're nobody. Your dad is a good player. You're nothing. That can fuel a guy. You get that disrespect. If you carry it the right way, you carry that adversity the right way, it can take you places. By the way, another guy that played with a chip on his shoulder his whole career, Michael Jordan. Always played with a chip on his shoulder.
He created that chip though, because when
So
everybody
it worked.
But
it worked.
It worked. He knew how to self-motivate. But it's crazy when he keep reminding people about him getting cut when he got to high school. There's not a lot of players, I don't care how good you are, that goes and plays varsity as a freshman. It's not a knock on you if you play reserve.
It's sophomore. He got cut as a sophomore.
Well, even a sophomore, sometimes you don't really get into your groove until your junior, senior year anyway. So, I understand he's the best player to ever live, but if let's say he did make the team, maybe he's not Michael Jordan today.
I gotta jump off, guys. I gotta jump off.
Hey, you may be right that he may not be Michael Jordan today, but guess what? Things happen in your life. He didn't make it. And what people don't understand about what Michael Jordan is, they never talk about him hitting the game-winning shot in the NCAA tournament. To this date, and I still think it's right, he's the last freshman to hit the game-winning shot, right? Yeah, because Keith Smart was a junior, and Jenkins Dude was a junior. I think he's the last freshman to hit the game-winning shot. And they really never talk about that, how Michael Jordan really, because they were keying on James Worthy, Michael Jordan was that second scorer that took the pressure off Worthy in that championship game. That game was played on this date 41 years ago tonight.
Okay.
The game when Freddie Brown threw the ball away. So, wow. Yeah, it's funny, when you get down here close to this Final Four stuff and late March and almost beginning of baseball season, all the memories and all the stuff that goes into Jody. Most people don't realize last year's tournament had just as many upsets. But you know the difference in last year's tournament? It had four gatekeepers. That stopped those teams from going to the Final Four. It was Villanova, Kansas, Duke, and North Carolina. See, last year was kind of like a blue blood Final Four. This year is a Gen Z blood Final Four. You know what I mean? And those gatekeepers, I think we will never see that again, Jody. I don't think we will.
We absolutely will see it again because, like I said, it only takes one player, and everybody still believes in Michael Jordan, and that's their favorite player, no matter if they're 4 or 45. So they're gonna want to put a North Carolina jersey on. It's gonna be people that love Zion Williams and Kyrie Irving. They're gonna want to put a Duke jersey on. You got people that love Kansas. They're gonna want to put a Kansas jersey on, and they want to put on a Kentucky jersey. So I'm not gonna count any of those teams out. They just didn't win this year, and it's been years that they haven't won. So you still got the Michigan States who Izzo. As long as Izzo there, he gonna get. I don't care who he put on his team. He's gonna get those guys to play, and he's definitely gonna get them to play in this time of year. So I think that they're having their run. I just think it's going to be spread it out a little bit more. But yeah, the Blue Bloods are not going anywhere. It's always an up and down, helter skelter type of recruiting classes and stuff like that. So they'll be back.
You're right, but to have them all come together at one time, which never happened in our lifetime, and it didn't happen in our parents' lifetime. So that right there, see. I don't deal with coincidences. I deal with what I see coming down the pipe. Because go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Tony, but this is the thing. If UConn wins a championship, nobody's going to really worry about who was in the Final Four with them in 10 years. They're going to just look and see that UConn kept the mantle of the teams, the high-ranking teams still winning championships. You see what I'm saying? So if UConn don't win a championship, and somehow it's Florida Atlantic or like a San Diego State, then that's when I think people are like, oh, wait a minute. But if UConn somehow wins it, then I don't think we're going to have the same. I think we're going to be fine as far as the
Jody,
winning.
Let's be honest. We know college sports. So if we said San Diego State, if we said Florida Atlantic, Miami, and UConn, we thought we'd probably be talking about golf or tennis or volleyball or something that's outdoors, some kind of outdoor sport. Because we do know San Diego State probably have a good golf team. We do know Florida Atlantic and Miami probably have a good golf team because look where they're located. They're located in the best, in the warmest cities in America. Come to find out, UConn has a golf team. So, I mean, this is a golf tournament. This ain't no basketball tournament. In the eyes of most of America, that's how shocking. I mean, listen, man, if someone picked this Final Four at the beginning of the year, they probably sitting on the millions right now.
I'll be honest. Look, if anybody even picked this tournament when the bracket, if anybody picked this Final Four in the Sweet 16, I want to see your bracket. Even if you had it all wrong, I want to see if you got this Final Four right after the Sweet 16. And even at the Elite 8, I bet nobody had this Final Four. Nobody.
It's one of those things, Jody, that listen, and you're right. What would make it even better if Miami upsets UConn, no matter who wins on that other side, we got a new champion. UConn got to get put out. So, and the thing is, UConn got to play two dogs that have no. These guys would be like, man, look, if they turn this into street ball and they let them, these dudes have no care in the world. If you play basketball before, you will know it's hard to beat a guy who, hey, he's like, I ain't got nothing to lose. I mean, I shoot it from anywhere. I'm a dribbler from anywhere. I'm going to try. And I think UConn has to protect of getting tight because now, you remember, UConn wasn't favored versus any of them. Nobody thought that they really were going to be here. Now that they're here, the whole world talking about how UConn's going to beat all these teams. That pressure, remember, pressure does one or two things. It bursts pipes or create diamonds. We about to find out what that pressure going to do for UConn.
I like Florida Atlantic. I was raving about them after the game.
You saw them in person, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw them in person twice, and I was very impressed with how they interchanged the big fellow they got from Russia, the sophomore, with the guy I've been raving about, Jonell Davis. They're a great coach. They got a great coach. He's probably going to make a lot of money if he stays at Florida Atlantic. They're gonna have to open the bag for him because I think for some odd reason somebody's gonna try to pry him away, just like they did with Fairleigh Dickinson coach going to Iona, Tobin Anderson. I knew that was going to happen. Unfortunately, these universities can't keep these top. They can't. Only one that was able to keep their mid-major coach was Tom Few. Gonzaga was able to come up with the type of money that he was looking for and that he deserved, you know, being at that organization and making it how it is. It's going to be very difficult for Florida Atlantic to be able to, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be coaches coming, schools coming from all around to try to get him to be their coach.
Jody, who are you picking for the Final Four right now? Give me the 2 games and then the champion.
I got Florida Atlantic. I got Florida Atlantic beating who they playing? San Diego State. And I like UConn. So I like it to be UConn versus Florida Atlantic, and I like Florida Atlantic to win it all.
Man, I've been going back and forth with this, and I just can't. I can't see anyone beating Florida Atlantic, but I watched that San Diego State team, and it's something about the way they play, and it just, I don't know. I'm going opposite. I got San Diego State playing against UConn, and I got San Diego State winning it. It's they're probably the 4th best team in this tournament of the 4, but for some reason, it just don't seem none of this seem right. I mean, it just don't. But us OGs, we got to get used to this new world, and inside this new world is different teams and there's different things, and that's what I see. I could be wrong. I mean, because it seemed like Florida Atlantic has a thing with them where they refuse to lose, and that attitude that I saw with them, and it's terrible that they play in San Diego State because they both were playing like we both refused to lose, and I've never seen young teams just played against the best, and it just was like, we don't care your name on your jersey.
But you know what? A lot of people don't care anymore. Like, I know when I played, and I go against teams like from where I'm from, Dayton Dunbar is the team to beat. I could care less, Tony. I'm fearless in life, in basketball court. I don't care who I'm up against, and I love having a whole bunch of guys around me that's the same. And you know what I'm saying? That's why we call ourselves the Wu-Tang Clan, a sports podcast, because guess what? None of us are scared of none. I don't care who it is. And I like that mentality that Florida. That's why I like Florida Atlantic to win it all, because them guys, I see absolutely zero fear out of those guys.
You heard what Jody said. See, I'm on live right here, and I'm just going back and forth. I came up with something when I said we're the Wu-Tang Clan of podcast. What that means is we don't care. We're going to bring it to you raw. We don't, now, we're not like Wu-Tang. I ain't over Jody's house trying to shoot up his parents' house and stuff like that. But, what we're saying is none of us like the same teams. We go back and forth. If you read our little blogs that we go through, we go back and forth all day. But, to come together for what we're trying to do, from Jody covering the Senior Bowl, Jody covering the combine. We're gonna be at the draft next month. Then we're gonna be at the Hall of Fame. Dog, we just bringing it to you raw. We're bringing it to you on the real stuff, so you ain't got to go listen to the same old narrative. We're gonna kick the narrative to you, what you thinking at home. See, what happens is ESPN gives you their narrative, and then now you got to argue. Oh well, man, no. What about your narrative? What about the true stuff? Because you're a sports fan. I met Jody, so that I met Jody on TikTok. He out there spitting facts, and I disagreed with the facts he was spitting. Inbox him like, man, what blah 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 blah. He hit me back. We've been tight like that since. Bringing people together. That's how I met Dan, arguing on the thing. I met David 18 years ago at a bar because he recognized me that I played at Virginia Tech and he went to UVA. If you know that, you know that we don't get along from the beginning because our schools hate each other. But that's okay. We're going to bring it together. And my young dude, Cody, who out there just, the young gun who put all this together for us to be able to do this stuff, he down in Miami our man down there just, hey, down there getting it. And I know him because his father's my business partner, who they both Redskin fans, and they can't stand my guts with the Cowboys. So it's not like we all, oh, hey, God, no. Because when football season comes, we're going to be at it. And Jody has an article about the combine. You see it with my article about the Final Four. What we're going to do, we're getting into this after the Final Four. We're going to start producing more articles, start talking to you about the Lamar Jackson, about the sale of the Washington Commanders or the Redskins or whatever you want to call them. Those are the type of things, like Jody and I, before we got on here, and we getting arguing about, oh, I got a team, for the Super Bowl, all my best teams and my best quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, this and that. So I come at him and say, I got a better team than this and that. Until he started naming all the people who won Super Bowl. And then so my team went from all pro to all no, because it's not the same. But those are the arguments that you get into. And that's what you're looking at home. Not that crap you see on ESPN. Not that crap that you see. It's our narrative, Jody.
But this is the thing, too, that I want to tell everybody that's listening. Trust and believe we're about to come, and it's about to get more hectic. We're about to give you more and more and more. But the beauty of what we're doing is we want to hear what you have to say. We'll bring you on. You can see, you watch ESPN and you watch Shannon Sharp and Undisputed or Acho and all those guys. You can't say anything. All you're gonna be at home is talking to your TV and talking to yourself. But guess what? When you come on here, you can speak your mind. We're not gonna dislike you. You can say what you want. We're adults. We're gonna maybe agree to disagree, but we're gonna all speak our mind, because I know a lot of people that's watching has a fabulous mind when it comes to sports, and nobody gets to hear your voice. Nobody, because you probably have a 9-to-5 job where you don't do it like you did as a kid. But here, we're going to hear your voice and we're going to hear you out, because you have a lot of pertinent information that people need to know. See, and I'm not knocking ESPN because they did what they had to do. I'm not knocking Bleacher Report, any of these places. I'm not knocking them. I'm really appreciating them. But what they did is, when you do talk to those different social media outlets, they don't give you an opportunity to respond. Or if you do say something, they'll never say nothing back. We talk back. So when you get on the website and you see that there's a column at the bottom, you can disagree or you can agree. And we can talk. And you can come with your argument, and I'm gonna come with mine. Because trust and believe, you try to argue with me, you better come with your guns loaded. You better come with your guns loaded.
Hey, that's why I nicknamed him the Assassin. See, because he coming, dog. He gonna hit you now. Because we have a saying. Jody was talking about, well, I ain't, blah, 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 blah. He said, I don't give a shit if you ain't afraid you gonna get hit. Tell him, Jody.
Hey, I always say this. I hear people say, man, I ain't afraid of so-and-so. I said, I've seen people that ain't afraid get knocked out.
See, guys, y'all listen to my man, the Assassin. And, he got that nickname, too, because he's a vet. He's a Marine. So, he kind of got that nickname because he is Marine. So, I gave everybody kind of a nickname. I gave Dave the Professor because, Dave, that man went to UVA, boy. Dave on some other stuff, man. You can just look at me on some other stuff. I gave Dave the Professional because that man been doing this stuff for a living. Mm-hmm. And then my man Cody, the young gun, because he the youngest dude of all of us. He the young gun. He keeps us OGs on our toes, man, because we know nothing about that fantasy stuff that he knows.
Right.
He knows that stuff, man. And we, you gotta have a diverse team with you when you're trying to get into what we're getting into, because here comes somewhere with the fantasy stuff, and I'm like, what? Where'd that come from? And I don't know, but he knows it. And I didn't tell my team, I'm gonna be in talks next week of trying to get with a live betting app so they can try to come and we can get sponsored. But one thing we're going to do is we're going to grind and we're going to get this done. It's going to happen because no matter if it's 1 or 3 or 10 people watching, we're still gonna come on here and go live and talk about sports. Because see, when you love something, you get up every day to do it, no matter if you're getting paid or not.
Absolutely.
Money is gonna be a byproduct of what we do. It ain't gonna be what runs us. No, because we love sports. You've been talking sports all your life, and then none of y'all got paid for it. So what? We're gonna talk sports till you die. Ain't that right, Joe?
Man, I'm gonna talk sports after I'm dead, because now I'm gonna get to meet a lot of my idols that passed away. Guess what? We're gonna be talking about sports when I get to heaven. I'm gonna go to Herb Adderley, like, what's good? Hey, I'm Jody Coleman, and I'm a big fan. You know what I mean? So it goes down like that. But check this out. Before we go, we got like a couple minutes left. Can we give the people a little bit of update of what's going on in the NFL? Because NFL is a 24/7 operation.
Well, let me give you what's around the Beltway here, Jody, because it seemed like that's the hottest thing, the battle of the Beltways. The biggest, well, both of them on the same thing. We have the sales of the Washington Commanders that they're talking about. The Magic Johnson Group came in at $6 billion yesterday at the owners' meeting. Kind of think the Magic Johnson Group is going to be the winner of that bid, because it's 3 different people in the group. One is worth $5.5 billion, other one was worth $5.8 billion. But the biggest thing is they own a Premier League team. And you remember when you saw me talking to the commissioner, I was talking to him about black ownership, and I was talking to him about expansion. Now, the biggest piece of the expansion is they want to get over in Europe. That's why they play the game. Folks, they don't play the game so you can get up early and have football all day. That's not why they play the games over there. They play the games over there because it's called something called that international money. And they want to get part of that international money. So when they get part of that international money, by the way, hello to the people in Germany who always watches us. I don't know that little town in Germany that watches, hey, how you doing? I don't know any German, but hopefully one day TD Report come over there. But that's what they want. And I think by them having a team over there, that gets them in over there, and it gets them into that, Jody, that money line that's over there, which is that sponsorship, which is big in Europe.
Because people got to understand that the NFL is not the biggest sport in the world. The biggest sport in the world is soccer. And that's why that money, and they're getting 100,000 people per game. You understand what I'm saying? So, NFL wants we the biggest, maybe the biggest sport in America, but it's a lot of other countries that celebrate soccer as being their main attraction. So that's why the NFL really wants to go overseas and market to those people overseas. And plus, we missing out on a lot of great athletes. Just because you're not American don't mean you can't play football.
Not at all. Not at all. Now, what I think, Jody, what I think is going to happen, a team is going to be placed in London, and a team is going to be placed in Mexico City.
Oh, yes.
Then they're going to go from London, they're going to go to Germany. And from Germany, even though this is in our country, I am calling it now. I think the next team that's in our states or in the North America will be in Hawaii.
I'm going to go take a look. I say in the next 25 years, we will see a team in Australia, because Australia is really big with rugby. So I can see
with the Australian rules, football is huge. I used to watch that all the time too.
So don't be surprised in the next 25 years. It will be in our lifetime that we'll see a team potentially being in Australia as well. So let's stay tuned on that. But I know you're talking about the area of Maryland and Baltimore. So we can't get off the show without talking Lamar Jackson. Right now, Lamar Jackson has stated that he does not want to be a Baltimore Raven. What is the significance of him going ahead and parting ways with a team that he saved a lot of people's jobs over there? Harbaugh, he saved his job. He was pretty much going to be out the door. What do you think, and where do you think Lamar Jackson will be best suited?
Okay, from my sources that I got, it's personal for Lamar Jackson right now. And I think that a team is going to come And Lamar's going to tell the team, I don't want that money, but y'all make a deal to get me over to you guys, and I will do a team-friendly deal to be on your team just to be out of Baltimore. Now, what is Baltimore going to drop the tag so they can really deal? I mean, there's a couple of teams right now, if I'm Baltimore, that I would drop the tag and go take their thing. So, guys, you understand, if the Baltimore Ravens go into the 2023 season with Hundley as the quarterback, they ain't beating no one in that division. They're not beating the Cleveland Browns. They're not beating Pittsburgh with the second-year quarterback because that team has improved. And they damn sure ain't beating the Bengals.
No.
Okay, so, folks, if you're Baltimore, and I know they GM's supposed to be pretty good, I will be dealing with a couple of teams. I'll be dealing with Detroit because they got a quarterback that's on salary who we were planning on paying Lamar, but you got a quarterback that can step in right now and play. I will be dealing with Washington because they do have a quarterback that you can get right now. He's young on a rookie deal. I would be dealing with Atlanta because they have a quarterback, or you have to deal with one of the top 4 teams who have the pick so you can get a quarterback. If you're not doing that, Jody, then I don't know what we're doing because Hundley can't start.
I'm gonna go a little bit different, and I see where you're going, but it's a couple teams that if I'm Baltimore, I would deal with. One of them being the Tennessee Titans, because if I deal with Tennessee Titans, in the very least I can make a trade, bring Tannehill over, and at least be 1 year, and then you can look at, because you're probably not going to be that good. And if you are that good, because he has been a quarterback that has won a few playoff games or whatnot, I would make a trade, get a couple first-round picks. They have the 11th pick of the draft, so you can start building for the future. You're gonna get their next year's pick.
You're not gonna ask for Willis?
No, I wouldn't ask for Willis, because the reason why I wouldn't ask for Willis is because I believe that if you get Tannehill, get his contract off the books in 1 year, and their 2 draft picks, then you can build for the future. You got a quarterback that could be a stopgap quarterback with Tannehill. He's not that bad where he can't come in and at least win you a couple games. And if he doesn't win, then you can take him out the lineup. You lose nothing. You cut him the next year. You have their 2 draft picks. You can start rebuilding next year. My second team that if I'm a Baltimore Raven is I'm definitely going to go look at the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts have the 4th pick of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I think that both teams can win out of this. I think if you make that deal, Lamar Jackson can go and be happy. He can be on that fast turf with Lamar Jackson on turf. You know what that can be. He already rushed for 1,000 yards on grass. So just imagine him on turf along with Jonathan Taylor. So now the read option is going to be that much more dangerous. He has a great offensive line, one of the top offensive lines in the NFL, along with Michael Pittman Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
who is an unsung guy who had almost 100 catches last year. So now he has some offensive weapons or whatnot. Defensively, you get Shaq Leonard back. All automatically, Indianapolis is not in a great division, because the only team you really going to have to worry about is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know how strong Tennessee is going to be, and we don't, Houston is rebuilding. So that's the 2 teams that if I'm really looking to make a move, and I think both situations can be beneficial, are those 2 organizations.
Yeah, and see, so folks, what you got is kind of 2 different ways of looking at it, but we know the GM's got to be looking at this. And then I'm on the boards of different teams. It's kind of disrespectful when I see Atlanta Falcons, Washington Commanders, and I see these teams talking about, no, we don't want Lamar. What the hell y'all been doing since Lamar been in the league?
Hold on,
y'all, they act like they said, well, Lamar's 1-3 in the playoff. Y'all 0-0 in the playoffs. Y'all ain't been.
This I'm gonna get to that argument in a second, but because the team that I really want to get with you on is the Commanders. But we'll get. Hold on. Let me start with the Falcons. The reason why I can see the Falcons not going to get Lamar Jackson is because you did spend a 2nd round pick, I believe, on Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder is a guy that could be potentially pretty good. You got, like, my thing is, we haven't seen if he can be good or not. They went and got rid of Marcus Mariota. He went to the Philadelphia Eagles. So now let's see how good he is, because you would have to give up so much to get Lamar Jackson. And as a team that has more holes than quarterback, you're going to need those 2 first-round draft picks. You see what I'm saying? So I can see why they did it.
Here's the thing. They're not, if they drop the tag, they're not going to give up 2 first-round draft picks. That is the thing. Because, see, here's the thing. You know they losing their leverage when he said he wants to be traded. Because that means I'm sitting out, I'm not playing. So him not playing, it doesn't help you. You cannot go into the season with Huntley having a, how should I say, Huntley being a starter. You can't go into the thing with Huntley being a starter. Huntley cannot start. And so now you've lost leverage. And in that division, so let's get this straight. When you put together an NFL team, you have to look at your division, okay? So last year, the Ravens were leading the division. Lamar got hurt. The Bengals took over and won, okay? But look at this. They said Pittsburgh and Cleveland were sorry. Okay, let's say that. Cleveland won 7 games, and Pittsburgh won 8 games. And they were supposed to be sorry. Yep. So guess what's going to happen next year? They're not going to win 7 games and 8 games. And Cincinnati won what? 12 games? I'm telling you right now in that division, if they don't have a quarterback or they don't have Lamar, they're going to be last place in that division. But, and you want to flip it on the Washington side.
I can't wait. Now, let's talk about
8 wins, 10 wins, 12 wins, 14 wins. Did Philly lose that much? No, they didn't.
Actually, they gained a little bit more, maybe outside of running attack, but they may have gained because they got everybody back. I thought
so. They gained. So, is Dak Prescott going to throw 17 interceptions next year?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
So we got Dallas from 11 to 12 to 13 wins.
Right.
Did the Giants get better?
Absolutely.
Okay, so they won 10 games. So the team in the last place now got to catch them. I don't see that happening with a new coordinator and a new quarterback, whether it's Brisket or it's Howe. And when they said that they're going to compete, I saw Brisket. Brisket was your quarterback. If Brisket win that job, I don't think anybody, the defensive coordinator for Philly, Dallas, or the Giants are shaking in their boot. And so we talk about, well, we got to build a team and we got to do all this. Folks, you don't build teams no more. There's a 2-year thing. You only get 2 years, and then all of a sudden we sitting around talking about, well, he's a salary cap casualty. You only got 2 years, man. And in those 2 years, you got to be showing and winning, or they're going to tear your team apart.
Listen, if I'm the Washington Commanders and I'm Ron Rivera, I'm like, if we don't get Lamar Jackson in town tonight, I'm not going to have a job. Because guess what? He has not had a winning season since he's been with the Commanders. The Commanders have not won a playoff game in God knows how long. Let's talk about what you just stated. If you get Lamar Jackson, you go from having the worst quarterback in the division to the best quarterback in the division. We know how important the quarterback play is. Washington Commanders are the one team in that division that can afford to lose 2 first-round picks if they want to do it that way. Because guess what? Their offense is already stacked. They got a lot of playmakers. And defensively, we know they're stacked defensively. You know what I'm saying? So they are one team in that division that can afford to lose their 2 first-round draft picks if they have to go that route. Secondly, you made a good point. Every team in that division got better. Look, Jacoby Brissett, I watched every game that he played. Is he a good quarterback? No, he's a backup. That's why he's a number 2. He played like a number 2. He won as many games as he possibly could. There's no knock on him. But guess what? Some people are just backup quarterbacks, and he is one. Sam Howell, I'm not sure about the kid. But do you want to, if I'm the head coach, Ron Rivera, knowing I'm on a hot seat, do I want a rookie quarterback to take me into the future? No, because the last time you had a winning season, guess who your quarterback was? It was Cam Newton. So guess who is just as good or better than Cam Newton? And that's Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson will come into it. Not only will he be the best quarterback in that division, no disrespect to Jalen Hurts, but you better respect Lamar Jackson. He will potentially be the best quarterback in the NFC.
And that, my friends, is where we say to you, as a Cowboy fan, Redskins, Commanders, please keep doing the same old stuff. I like it. Don't go get Lamar. You don't need him. Just go with Brisket and Howe. We like that. That's great for you guys. You guys are doing well. Because as Cowboy fans know, if Lamar Jackson gets to the Washington football team, as of right now, they will win the division, and Dallas and the Giants will be fighting for 4th place.
I got two more things. Tony, let me add two more things. Also, I don't understand Commanders fans when they talking about bringing a quarterback in when y'all just brought Carson Wentz in.
Exactly.
The year before that, y'all brought in Tannehill. I mean, not Tannehill, but Fitzpatrick. So y'all really are gonna sit up here and try to make a reason for you not to bring Lamar Jackson in. Y'all brought Carson Wentz has been on 4 teams in 4 years. He's proved the ability to not play football, and he also had a major price tag, and y'all had to give up numerous picks to get him. Everybody said he was bad in the locker room. Have you ever heard anything bad about Lamar Jackson? Have you ever heard he was bad in the locker room? Have you ever heard that he was bad off the field? Have you ever heard that he was a bad teammate? Did you ever hear that he's not a hard worker?
Never.
I never heard any of these things about Lamar Jackson. But guess what, y'all? He's a former MVP. He's a two-time Pro Bowl. Two-time Pro Bowl player. He has won a playoff game, something that the Commanders have not done in a long time.
Hey, you know what, Jody? The Commanders haven't won a playoff game since this format was created, since Facebook was started.
Right. So we talking a long time. And guess what? I want to go back, and this is the last thing I want to say on it. The last time the Commanders were excited, really, really excited to watch, they had a quarterback named RG3, Robert Griffin Jr., or the third, I'm sorry, as y'all quarterback. And when I watched him play his rookie year, people forget he was the rookie of the year, not Andrew Luck. He was the rookie of the year, not Andrew Luck. And we talking about Andrew Luck, who was supposed to be that generational quarterback that we have never seen since John Elway. Great quarterback. I wish he wouldn't have retired, but hey, take care of your health. RG3 was the most electrifying player that I seen before Cam Newton. He was more electrifying than Cam Newton when he came into the league. I watched him play his rookie year on Thanksgiving Day against the Cowboys. And I looked at that game. He had 4 touchdowns in the first half. I said, the NFL is in trouble. I said, there's no way nobody's going to be able to stop this guy. And only thing that stopped him was an injury, because he wanted to prove that he can play through injury. If he would have sat down and got fully and completely healthy, we may be talking about RG3 with about 2 Super Bowls right now.
Hey, man, that's where we're going to leave you guys, because we can't keep arguing about you not wanting to. If the Redskin fans actually think that Howe and Brisket are going to beat, let me put it to you this way. So nobody has said this before. The Washington football team is the only team coming into the 23 season where every team in their division made the playoffs and won a playoff game. No other division can say that. So Washington is going against 3 teams, not only better than them, but all 3 teams won a playoff game. And no other division can say that.
And you're gonna go and you're gonna pass up on you would have the best quarterback in your division. You would have the best. And you know what's I scratch my head about is they'll talk about all this salary cap stuff when it comes to Lamar Jackson, but I bet if Aaron Rodgers said he wanted to come to the Commanders, they would drop everything and pay him $50 million. And we're talking about a guy that's 40 years old. And Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He's a prima donna. He doesn't know what he want to do, because guess what?
Lamar's 26.
Say what?
And Lamar's 26.
He's 26. And he had just as many, like the past few years, they got the same amount of playoff wins the past few years. So it ain't like he's blowing them out the water on playoff wins and anything he's doing in the postseason. And I go back to say this because the Jets are trying to make a deal for Aaron Rodgers. I have never seen a quarterback in my life put together a wish list of players that he wants, and he's not even signed with the team yet. I'm gonna leave with this, Tony. Aaron Rodgers, you're not Tom Brady. You can't do what Tom Brady got 7 of them things on his hand. 7. You trying to lead the same. You're not even Brett Favre, in my opinion. You're not even Brett Favre, in my opinion. You're a great quarterback. I think you have the best ball placement I've ever seen. But guess what? That doesn't lead to victories. You got 4 MVPs, and that's wonderful. But I would rather have 4 Super Bowls and 1 MVP. But guess what? You're making it all about self. You're asking the Jets to give you a wish list to get all the receivers that you had in Green Bay that you didn't want in Green Bay.
So, guys,
makes sense.
Guys, this is rare. Jody and I agree. And Jody's speaking as a Cleveland Brown fan. I'm speaking as a Cowboy fan. Washington Commanders. And beware. So understand, Commander fans, understand. You don't have real ownership right now. But if Magic Johnson comes, Magic Johnson ain't coming to no plain Jane bullshit when 30 miles down the road, up the road, there's a quarterback that can change the fortunes of his team. When you got somebody like Magic Johnson didn't go to the Lakers and dealt with bullshit. He didn't come to anything he's done in his life and just say, oh, we're just going to play it by the book. No.
And if Magic Johnson gets that, because I really hope that he becomes the owner of the Commanders, just because that'll be the first Black owner in all of NFL sports. I believe that correct, right? He'll be the first Black owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he gets that opportunity. Look what he did with the Dodgers. They did not sit on their hands. They went and got everybody known to man. Mookie Betts. They went and got every free agent known to man.
They was all over the thing to go get it. So I'm telling you, Commander fans, if he comes, he's not sitting with plain Jane. And you think he's gonna come sit in the box and go watch Jalen Hurts run over top of his team and then come watch the Cowboys? Ooh, the Cowboys coming in with Dak and all these other things, and it's the Jerry Jones and the other owners. No. You think he's going to sit there and watch the Giants come down the street? He want to get his thing because they're not losers. These guys are winners, and they know to win, you better go get LJ. You better go get him, because those quarterbacks you got, yeah, they probably get you 7-8 games, but they're not getting you past those teams in the playoffs. If y'all think in the first year, y'all gonna beat San Francisco, Philly, Dallas, and all them with Howell and Brisket, y'all crazy. Y'all lost y'all damn mind.
Listen, man, I look, if any Commander fans want to challenge what I just said, please come aboard and let's talk about it, because Lamar Jackson is a rare commodity at quarterback, and he's sitting on the market. He's available. That's the thing that's mind-boggling me, is he's available, and he's really not a huge price tag for what he's asking. And let me put this in perspective, everybody that's listening. You know that when Tyreek Hill got traded, he got traded for 5 picks. The Ravens are only asking for 2. Put that in perspective. We talking about a wide receiver that's a phenomenal wide receiver, but guess what? He didn't make it past the first round. I'm pretty sure he wished he still was with the Kansas City Chiefs, so he could have got that second round.
Quarterback doesn't get hurt. If his quarterback doesn't get hurt, Jody, Dolphins would remember they were number 1 seed when he got hurt, and he kept getting injured and everything else. He took them to another level, dude. Remember, we were talking about how Miami was number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm. Right. But that's what I'm saying. If you gave up 5 picks for a wide receiver, you telling me Lamar Jackson has not worth 2?
Yeah.
Come on, man. I'm done, Tony. I'm done. I'm leaving on that one.
All right. Hey, folks, we're going to check us back Monday night right before the championship. We're going to come on Monday night and kind of pick our winner. But you heard it. Jody is picking FAU right now. And I give him a chance if FAU lose. And I'm picking San Diego State, which is really crazy. So, hey, guys, thank you. Make sure you go to our website. You go to my page, go to Jody page. You can see our articles is on there on the TD Report on the website. You can read his article on the Combine, read mine on the Final Four. We're going to start producing more articles as it gets on, as we get into the month of April, and getting you ready for the draft, because you're going to want to hear they draft stuff. You're going to want to hear Deb and Jody and Cody. You're going to want to hear their stuff, buddy.
I got some hot stuff coming for y'all. I got something about some quarterbacks in the draft. I got some stuff about old quarterbacks, and I got some stuff about to come hot off the grill for y'all. So just come on, check it out. We chef and we cooking it up here, man.
Hey, here's how I know I can get Jody off. Christian Laettner's the best college basketball player ever.
Peace.
Nigga, my dog. All right, folks, make sure y'all catch us. Please, TD Report on all the platforms. Go to our website, tdreport.com. Please go and check out my article on the Final Four. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you.